What would you do if, one morning, you discovered your prized Lamborghini had vanished and your trusted supercar dealer, once the most admired in Britain, was the center of a national scandal? Would you believe it if I told you that not only ordinary customers, but also seasoned car collectors, celebrities, and industry insiders were all swept up in a web of deception, fooled by clever marketing, slick personalities, and a system built on fragile trust? This is the true story of GVE London, a dealership that rose to glittering heights and then collapsed, leaving a trail of missing supercars, ruined reputations, and millions in vanished cash. Today, we're going behind the scenes, into the heart of the dealership, to reveal exactly how they fooled the entire supercar market. It didn't happen overnight. GVE London began like so many others, a humble, ambitious business in a competitive industry, chasing clients and margins, hungry for recognition. But what set GVE apart was its relentless drive to be seen. They transformed themselves into an online juggernaut, claiming to be the UK's most connected supercar dealer, dazzling with an endless carousel of rare Ferraris, Bugattis, Lamborghinis, and more. A visit to their showroom was like stepping into a fantasy world, rows of supercars gleaming under studio lights, each car seemingly just a handshake away from a celebrity buyer. The Instagram and TikTok reels were works of digital art, polished, vibrant, and addictive. To outsiders, GVE wasn't just a dealership, it was a brand, a lifestyle, a trusted gateway to automotive luxury. Crucially, they courted authority and credibility at every turn. GVE's name appeared in glossy magazines, influencer shoutouts, and behind-the-scenes photos with well-known personalities. Testimonials flowed in from happy buyers, most of whom felt honored just to have bought or sold a car through such a famous company. The assumption grew: if GVE is good enough for the rich and famous, it must be safe for everyone else. This myth of invincibility became GVE's most valuable asset and, ultimately, its deadliest trap.
At the center of GVE's rise was the irresistible sale or return model. Here's how it worked. Owners, lured by high valuations and the promise of speedy sales, would consign their vehicles to GVE. The dealership would display, market, and sell the cars, then return the proceeds, minus a commission, once a sale was completed. For the car owner, it sounded like the best of all worlds: maximum price, minimum hassle, and no upfront risk. But here's what most clients never realized. Over 80% of GVE's inventory was sale or return. GVE didn't own these cars. This meant they carried none of the cost of stock, but all of the cash flow pressure to settle accounts immediately after every deal. It was a balancing act, a system built for speed, but doomed if sales ever slowed or the money was mismanaged. Why did so few question this? Because everything about GVE's process oozed professionalism. Their contracts looked official, their staff was smooth and knowledgeable, and the presence of so many high-end vehicles in the showroom fostered an unshakable sense of security. Behind the scenes, however, the system's flaw was growing. Rather than keeping funds separate, GVE is alleged to have mixed sale proceeds into their general accounts, sometimes paying old debts with new sales, sometimes covering day-to-day operations with money that didn't belong to them at all. As long as the cars kept moving, the illusion held. But as the market slowed and payments lagged, a dangerous hole opened beneath the polished floors. In the age of digital persuasion, GVE London was a masterclass. Their TikTok and Instagram profiles amassed millions of views per week, drawing an international audience. Employees like George Gaidu became minor celebrities, fronting videos, narrating showdowns, even starring in viral negotiation skits. These platforms didn't just show cars, they told stories. Watch us close the deal on a Bugatti Veyron, see this customer's Ferrari handover, follow the journey of a Lamborghini from seller to new owner. GVE constructed a never-ending highlight reel that projected trust, success, and almost mythic reliability. Customers, both new and returning, craved to be part of the spectacle. Many would document their own visits, post about consigning or buying a car, and share these moments across their own networks. This viral loop reinforced the idea that everyone was doing business with GVE, so it must be safe. Few realized how much of the content was carefully staged, edited, or selectively presented. Even fewer understood that some of the vehicles displayed might not even be in GVE's legal possession at the time of filming.
The people factor played a pivotal role. In particular, George Gedu, GVE's sharp-suited, quick-talking social media star, became a symbol of trust and expertise. He wasn't a company director or financial decision-maker, but to the public, he was GVE. George's on-screen confidence convinced countless clients to consign their cars, sometimes without reading contracts or asking key questions. Customers felt they knew him. His friendly manner dissolved doubts, while the online crowd cheered every transaction. Behind closed doors, staff were trained to project this same confidence. Never show doubt, never admit weakness was the unspoken mantra. Employees were discouraged from voicing concerns, even as late payments and internal tension mounted. When the crisis hit, the very faces that inspired such trust became the focal points of public anger. George's video disclaimers, like "I'm not in charge, I'm just an employee," shocked fans who thought he was the man behind the curtain. Other staff faced online abuse, threats, and lasting damage to their reputations. Was the collapse really so unpredictable? In hindsight, the warning signs seemed glaring. GVE's accounts were repeatedly filed late. Whispers about slow payments grew louder in specialist forums. Some clients reported vague contract wording or felt uncomfortable about where their funds were being held. Yet these doubts were smothered by the wisdom of the crowd. If hundreds of cars were coming and going, if celebrities were happily posting handover selfies, if every video racked up hundreds of thousands of views, how could anything be truly wrong? Several employees, it's rumoured, tried to sound the alarm. Some were ignored, some were quietly pushed out. Customers who pressed too hard were offered extra assurances or told delays were just the industry norm. The few who pulled their cars early were later seen as the lucky ones. The herd mentality was powerful. FOMO, the fear of missing out, pushed even seasoned buyers to ignore their own doubts and trust in GVE's glowing image.
When GVE's financial facade finally cracked, the reality was staggering. Administrators discovered a shortfall of at least £1.8 million, split across dozens of creditors. 14 businesses owed nearly £500,000. 9 individual consignors owed over £700,000, and many more claims still being filed. Forensic accountants traced tangled trails of payments, money from one sale covering old debts, new deposits immediately spent, no ring-fence protection for clients' funds. Some clients discovered their cars had already been sold with no payment forthcoming. Others found their vehicles had vanished, sometimes exported, sometimes seized by police as evidence, sometimes simply missing. Desperate, owners turned to forums, WhatsApp groups, even private investigators, trying to recover assets before the legal process locked them away for months or years. The sight of a customer retrieving a £240,000 Lamborghini just in time became a symbol of the chaos. The collapse, when it came, was merciless and fast. News spread online within hours. GVE was in trouble, payments were frozen, and the administrators were on their way. What followed was a frenzy. Customers and brokers raced to the dealership, some demanding their cars, others begging for answers. Police were called to manage disputes. On social media, accusations and rumours exploded. Who stole what? Is this a Ponzi scheme? How could this happen in day bloody light? Inside GVE, staff and managers struggled to maintain order. Outside, journalists jostled with angry owners, each hoping for a glimpse of the real story. What once looked like an unstoppable business machine now resembled a crime scene, with shattered trust as the only thing left for most involved.
Today, GVE London is a cautionary legend in Britain's supercar community. Dozens of owners are still chasing cars or money. Employees, some innocent, some complicit, are rebuilding their lives or their reputations. Rival dealerships have tightened up their sale or return policies, increased transparency, and started insisting on independent escrow accounts. The regulatory authorities are now under pressure to overhaul oversight to prevent such a loophole from ever being exploited again. But the deeper lesson is about the power of image and the danger of too much trust. In the end, GVE's greatest product was not cars, but confidence, sold, resold, and then shattered in a single storm of scandal. So what can buyers, sellers, and industry pros learn? Never mistake fame for financial safety. Always demand written contracts and proof of escrow. Trust, but verify, especially when the SAMs are life-changing. If you've ever doubted a deal, felt uneasy about a contract, or wondered if something was too good to be true, you're not alone. Share your stories, your lessons, your questions below. Let's make sure the next big scandal is stopped before it begins. Because in the world of supercars, illusions are expensive, and the next one could be yours.